I want to use watercolor in my bullet journal, but I'm a beginner and I have no idea what I'm doing. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Caitlin if you're new here. On this channel, we focus a lot on bullet journaling, what is a bullet journal, how to bullet journal, all of that jazz. I just ended up doing a recent blog post. I'll have it linked down below on all the different spread ideas that you can include in your bullet journal. The number of that is endless. But today I'm going to be walking you through my March 2022 bullet journal plan with me setup. And this theme, I wanted something with watercolor. I wanted it to be a beginner-friendly bullet journal tutorial on watercolors, and I ended up coming up with this bubble theme. I hope you guys really enjoy it and just keep on watching for the video.
I am really excited to get into this Plan With Me March 2022 bullet journal theme setup. Here are just all of the stationery supplies that I used. I ended up using 3 different colors from my Arteza watercolor set, along with this gold from my vintage watercolor set. Of course, some micron pens and a tombow brush pen, along with different washi tapes, rulers, and then an exacto knife as well. Just starting us off on the cover page, I really wanted to do a beginner-friendly watercolor design for my bullet journal this month, and I wanted to stick with the March green theme that you usually see in a bullet journal just for St. Patrick's Day, and I thought this would be a really cool way to incorporate that color but not go on full leprechaun and St. Patty's Day. If you haven't seen this trick before with washi tapes in a journal, basically what you do is you lie it down where you want a crisp line. And because I want a crisp curved line, my washi tape is aligned a little bit weird, but then I come in with an exacto knife and just carve out exactly what I want the line to look like. So tip number 1 for you, if you've never done this before in your bullet journal, I would definitely recommend using washi tape like this just to get a really crisp line. If you are a beginner to watercolor, there are so many ways that you can use watercolor in your bullet journal, and here I am just showing you with a really light touch on the watercolor and then layering it up darker and darker with each new layer of the bubbles. Now, when it comes to watercolor, when I want a light color, so tip number 2 for you is if you want something light, add a lot of water. It's gonna dull down that pigment just a little bit, so all those first layers that I put in, I had a lot of water. And after each layer, I lessen the amount of water and then end up combining both those green colors and then that brown color as well. Everything will be linked in the description box down below for exact colors that I'm using for the watercolors if you're interested in just recreating anything like this yourself. I did feel like the page was missing a little something, so I came in and I added a bit of the circle lines here with a micron pen. If you're not confident in your circles, mine look a little wonky, but I'm okay with that, then I would recommend just using a stencil. To tie this cover page all together, I ended up just going in and adding in this really big circle. I would recommend stenciling this out. I don't have a stencil, so what I ended up doing was grabbing my tea mug and just circling out the bottom to get the desired shape that I wanted, and then I can come in here and add just a different amount of circles all around the edges to tie it in just with that bottom little swoosh I did at the end here. Because watercolor has to have time to dry before you can layer anything like pens and stuff on top, I did end up coming in and trying to ground this little swoosh at the bottom just a little bit more. And as of late, I've definitely been in my head a lot, so I thought I would add in this little reminder here of don't pop your own bubble, just so I can look back and see exactly what I was feeling mentally and the words of encouragement that I used just to kind of get out of my own head. I love using this tombow brush pen to get calligraphy. If you are a beginner to this specific lettering style, thicken the downstroke, so put more pressure on your pen going down, and then lift up that pressure on the way up. It's gonna help you get a calligraphy look. I like to personally lift up my pen in between every single letter. It just helps with control, and if you're a beginner, I would recommend doing that as well. I am just inserting a calendar here for a quick little glance to kind of fill up that bubble. That is the one thing I love about watercolor and the dotted notebook is you can still see through, so it's easy to make sure things are uniform. If you hadn't had a chance yet to check out how I set up a bullet journal for 2022, my beginner plan with me, all of that for the very beginning parts of a journal, I will have that video just linked up above. But if you have, then you might might recognize this. I did a decorative Dutch door in that journal and then ended up putting in different tabs and different spreads on every single page. So I wanted to have 4 different spreads, so I made 3 tabs. There's another tip for you if you are ever trying to do tabs and it is your first time doing it. Always subtract the number of pages by 1 to get the desired number of tabs. So again, I wanted 4 pages, so I'm putting in 3 tabs. I'm quickly just showing you again how I ended up focusing these dots just around. When you are doing this theme, if you like in your bullet journal, my recommendation would be starting with really big dots and then adding in smaller dots around. It just helps with proportionizing everything all around the page a little bit better, and then you can come back in at the end and fill in any spaces that you think are a little bit empty with a clear circle just by using that pen to make an outline. If this is your first time using watercolors in your journal, this is a very beginner-friendly bullet journal minimalistic theme. I really loved doing this one and trying to come up with a theme this month. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it easy and I wanted to make it watercolors, and sometimes those two things just don't go together. So I hope that this helps just inspire you to use watercolors if you haven't in the past before. My calendar is a must in my bullet journal, and I ended up going in with a little bit of that gold watercolor that I talked about. I really regretted taking out this detailed paintbrush because it took way longer than it needed to, so I did end up just switching back to my original rounded brush, and it was perfectly fine. If you wanted, again, those crisp lines, I would recommend using washi tape, but I was okay just trying to practice my penmanship, my paintbrush ship? I don't know, whatever it's called, trying to just practice with my paintbrush on getting a straighter line. I do really love having a calendar layout like this. It just provides me the most amount of space to write down exactly what I want to get done, and it's a really good visual. I am a visual person. If you don't like something like this, I do have a lot of videos just on different monthly layouts and then as well different weekly layouts if you want to ever switch up any of those. On the side here, I am just going to be tracking my goals for the month. This is something that I recently incorporated in my January plan with me, and I have not looked back. I am switching up the layout just a little bit for this month because one thing that I found is that although I had a whole page dedicated to my goals, it was really hard to reference every single week exactly what I wanted to get done. So I'm just putting out my monthly and weekly goals here, and you'll see later on in my weekly plans, I actually do another whole section there as well. Moving on to my content calendar. Now, this is something I have been trying to jumble around in my brain for the last couple months, and really I am telling myself now in the future, you know, hindsight 2020, what the heck were you doing not using your bullet journal? This would be a really great spread idea to use in your bullet journal, and it's something that I've tracked before in the past, but just haven't really done recently. So on my Instagram schedule, I'd like to post around 20 times during the month. So if you haven't already followed me over there, I'll just link my name on the screen here and then as well in the description box down below. Basically, the P, R, E, and S stand for either it's a photo or a reel. And I'm just going to check off which one it was, if I've edited that and then scheduled it. And I can just check off every single day that I do it and then the description of exactly what I posted along the month. If you don't have something like this in your life, you don't do social media, but you have a project-based job, this would be a really good layout as well for you to use in that sense. I did just leave room to write down all of the ideas that I wanted to post, and then, if you don't know already, I did start a website and I'm going to be posting weekly blogs over there. I ended up taking just a couple weeks off from social media at the end of February to kind of recoup and just focus on what exactly I want to do in March. So there's going to be 4 new blog posts coming there, and then I did end up adding a little progress bar at the bottom. Again, each of those letters represent some sort of task that I want to get done, and those check boxes will be ticked off when they're done. A gratitude log is something that I love incorporating in my bullet journal. I would say this is probably one of my favorite spreads to include in a bullet journal because no matter what mood I'm in, I can always try and find something that was good that day. And even on those really bad days, sometimes it just ends up being like, I'm very thankful I got out of bed this morning and took a shower. It can be so small, but it is really good to just look back and be grateful for something and kind of remind myself that there's a lot that I can be happy for in the world. I know, mushy gushy, but that is just one of the ways that I help my mental health, and I would recommend finding that thing for you to help you out as well. So I just kept this one really simple because it will look filled in after I write out a line every single day. But this bottom section here, I did end up wanting to fill in with a quote. And I thought this one was perfect that says, sometimes the smallest things make the biggest difference. And that is true. You know, something small can really help out. I did end up doing a whole series on different self-care trackers, both mental, physical, and financial self-care trackers. So if you haven't already seen that, I would recommend checking out that little mini series. I'll have it just linked below. But I did end up talking about in my mental health care self-trackers this reflection page. And I have a separate journal to just write down how I'm feeling throughout certain days, the month, the year. But I really wanted to have a touch point in my bullet journal that I use daily just to kind of see where my head was at the beginning of the month versus the end of the month. So this left side of the Dutch door is going to be focusing on the beginning of the month. So how am I feeling going into this month? And then just write down a few lines that I'm feeling. And then the last two questions are focusing on relationships. So how am I going to prioritize relationships like family and friends? And then how am I going to prioritize myself? Because I end up getting really hyper focused on one thing and I need to make sure that there's some sort of balance in there. And then the end of the month reflection is just on the right side of that page, just saying basically, did this happen the way that I wanted it to? If you're interested in checking out what these spreads look like filled in, I do post that stuff on my Instagram. The weekly spread is the last one just here today that I'm going to be showing you. I love setting up different weekly spread ideas, and I love showing the different 10-minute weekly spreads so you guys can get an idea of different layouts that I use in my bullet journal. And then you can always lengthen that time by adding in different complex things or doodles. I like to lengthen that time with watercolors, but my layouts are very similar. So this one here on the left side of the page, I ended up just writing out for my monthly goals. Now, I briefly mentioned that I did have one in my calendar section. So those 3 monthly goals that I want to have done, I'm going to have a prioritization for this is what I want to get done to make sure that my first goal is underway. Here's what I want to get done for my second goal and then third goal, so that it's right on the page and I know if I'm getting what I need to get done. On the right side of the page, I'm coming up just with this 1-page weekly spread idea. And if you ever make a mistake in your bullet journal, I would recommend using a jelly roll pen, a whiteout, something like that. It is literally my best friend when it comes to bullet journaling because I do end up overextending lines quite often. I did add in this little mini calendar just to show me exactly what week it's going to be. I like just having that little visual again. And if you haven't watched any of my videos before, you won't know this yet, but you will hopefully very soon. I absolutely love doing calligraphy, and this is just a very dainty, delicate calligraphy style that I have started to pick up lately and really love. So I just ended up having that as my lettering style. But that is really it for the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have watched it this far, just put down a little 4-leaf clover in the description box. And here is just a little quick flip through of what we did today together.
it. I hope you enjoyed today's video. This shout out's gonna be going to my girlfriend. I absolutely love how helpful and amazing she has been, especially over this last little while when it comes to meshing together my YouTube, my Instagram, and now my new blog. So thank you so much. If you guys have any suggestions on what videos you want to watch in the future, just let me know down in the comments below. I'd be happy to make something that you want to see. And if you haven't already, make sure to smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and comment down below. It really does help support my channel to grow, and I'll see you next week with another video. Bye!